I'm joined by my friend Michael Hughes, who is from southern part of Australia. What city are you from?
Hi, Robyn. This is great to be with you here. I live in Wollongong, so we're about
That's where you are.
80 kilometres south of Sydney on the coast.
So you and I met a few years ago in an event called World Childless Week, and we're part of a large community of people who are childless, not by choice. And I guess if you could start by telling me just a little bit about your story with yourself and your wife and how you came to be childless, not by choice.
Okay, Vicky, my wife, we were kids working part-time at a McDonald's, and as we met, as we got into our late teens, we always knew that Vicky would need some assistance to have children. We went to a doctor, and he sent us to a specialist. We went through a whole range of therapies. It starts with a fertility drug first. Then, if that doesn't work, it goes to artificial insemination. Now, if that doesn't work, then we went to what was called at the time GIFT, which is gamete intro fertilization treatment. So now we're starting to talk about IVF. Then that didn't work, so then we went to the next step, which is ZIFT, which is zygote intro fertilization treatment, I think. That whole journey took us to our late 30s.
Wow.
And what we didn't realize at the time was the cycle of having these treatments and being encouraged by the doctors who would tell you, yeah, we've got a 90% success rate, and so they wouldn't exactly tell you that it would work, but they would say, we've got a 90% success rate. And we would always believe that we were one of the 90%, but we weren't. So it sends you on this horrible roller coaster of hope, and then, of course, despair. And the decline of despair were getting deeper and deeper and deeper, to the point that we were both absolutely broken and absolutely depressed. Because Vicky would have, her belief was, I don't want to, leave this world and not have said that I tried my best, tried my hardest to have what I really, really want. So we did. We tried again. And we had enough, I think, to do 3 more rounds of IVF. So it was the actual last one that Vicky fell pregnant, and so for 4 weeks we believed we were going to be parents, and unfortunately it didn't happen. She miscarried. She found out she was pregnant on her birthday, and she miscarried on Father's Day. So by this time, I'm on the lounge crying, just saying, we have to stop. We have to draw a line in the sand and go, enough's enough. It took Vicky a lot longer to say yes to that, because of her absolute need to become a mother. And I can't say that she's not over that now, but she manages it. She manages the grief that comes from it. She manages it very well.
I don't think that we ever get over it.
No.
When that's something that we wanted to have so deeply, I'm not sure that it's something we ever get over, but it's something that we learn to live with.
I've had comments like that. I'll just get over it. And even from family members who just don't understand. So yes, exactly. You manage you learn how to manage it. You never get over it.
Yeah, exactly. So for women who are childless not by choice, it is often something that we can a little bit more easily talk about. Women tend to be more talkative, even though this topic is a rather taboo subject. it is something that is a little bit easier for women to talk about. So how has it been your experience being the man in that relationship and dealing with being childless?
Obviously, me being here is not typical as a
No.
as a man. So obviously, I talk more about it. So I'm going to do a shameless plug for our podcast that I run, that I and two lovely ladies from the UK
Go for it.
that we host. There's not even a correct vocabulary around childlessness and how it makes you feel and how it affects you. But as you know, us guys have a very limited vocabulary anyway. And so it's even harder for us to do that. And we are not wired to express our feelings. And it's not easy for us to do that. We've explored this in a few podcasts and through discussions with other men. And one of the things we find is that, and I can speak from my own experience here, is that we are always told drilled never to talk about our feelings, because they are a gateway to, I guess, weakness, if that makes any sense. We are not taught how to talk about these feelings. So now that's the biggest thing. Now, what that does do in a workplace environment, it can create some misunderstood behaviour, I guess. So I had an experience when you can hear your cat in the background.
Yeah, I know.
I had an experience where it was when Vicky had that miscarriage, and I had to go to work the next day, and I was just, my mind was all over the place,
Mm-hmm.
And one particular guy who was in our work team was annoying at the best of times. He just happened to just make the wrong comment at the wrong time. Now, I'm not a violent person by any means, but at that particular time, I could have thrown a punch, because I was so. And I realise now it was anger, and because this situation was out of my control. And as guys, we grow that way. We grow in the way that our contribution to a relationship or to the world is that we can fix problems, and we get a lot of satisfaction from that, and so not being able to do that created a lot of anger in me. And that's what I see through other males in our childless community, is anger. Now, and I'm not talking about the abuse, physical abuse, violence, or anything like that. I'm talking about the anger within, that they don't know how to manage. And so, because it's a feeling, and they don't know how to manage it. And I can say to you that there is a 60-year-old man that I know who is childless, and he's still angry, because he's not been able to process that anger. He's not been able to, understand it and ward it off. So what that brings me back to then is that the reason I'm here with you is because I've spent a lot of time on the psychologist's couch with my wife, but I've learned what's important. And what is important is being able to talk, being able to find a place to belong, where I can express my feelings in my own way, in my time.
I think, certainly, because this is something that we often struggle with on our own and in the shadows, having the communities that we've been able to find online, certainly through World Childless Week and a number of Facebook groups, has created that space for all of us to be able to share how we feel and to find our sense of community among people who really understand how painful this journey actually is for us. And you were telling me a little bit about your clan of brothers. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and what that community has done for men in the childless community?
So the Clan of Brothers was set up. Let me go back because I need to give Jody Day some credit here. So Jody Day is like, for those,
she's our leader.
We know who she is. She's like the gracious stateswoman of the childless community. And she said to me, Michael, you could probably set something up yourself for men. And we discussed it, and I said, yeah, it probably won't translate well because, you know, I'm sure in your groups there's women chatting about everything, and, you know, they're bonding and they're coming together through expressing their emotions. That ain't going to work for us blokes. We're shocking. So I had to think about that in a different way. And just south of me in a place called Kiama, which is actually a really nice seaside town, there was a group of guys taking up the male depression fight. And one of the things, well, what they do is they just meet on a certain day of the week and they go for a walk. That is it. That's all they do. They just go for a walk and chat. And it's a great example of how us guys bond. We bond through doing things, you know, so clubs, hobbies. As I said to you earlier, you know, if I was to ask my male friends to come around and let's sit around the fire and chat about how we feel, I'd be there with the crickets. Whereas if I said, I'll put on a barbecue, just bring your tools around, I've got to build a shed, there'll be a multitude of them. But so the Clan of Brothers is we try to do that virtually. So we don't discuss how we feel, we discuss what we do. We have men that they love Star Wars and they build Star Wars models. We have guys who are photographers, and some good ones, I can tell you. There's a man in Latvia who he gets together with his friends and they play board games. And so we enrich each other by discussing what we do rather than how we feel. And what that does, it then creates the environment for these men to feel part of, and then they open up. And this is how I can tell you about the anger, because that is something that is talked about a lot. But one of the other things is about legacy and about what we leave behind. Because obviously for those people that have children, their legacy will be their children. And I think that's it. And for us in the group, it's intrinsic about what do we leave behind? Because does anyone really want to be forgotten about? It's, you know, and that's another phrase that comes, you know, it saddens them to think that I will just be forgotten. There'll be no history for me to follow on. My sister-in-law works for the Queensland government, and went to see her, well, my brother and sister-in-law a few months ago, and we had a discussion around, Sandy said, oh, I met a childless woman at work the other day. Okay, all right. And how did it go? Oh, we didn't talk about it. Okay. So how do you know she's childless? Oh, she told us. Okay. So Sandy, and don't get me wrong, Sandy's a lovely, lovely girl. But I said to her, let me give you a different perspective on this. You know how hard it's been for Vicky and I to you know, not have children. Yeah. So there is a woman offering to you something. She's offering you, I am childless. Are you prepared to understand me? And what did you do? Oh, we changed the subject. Okay. How do you think that woman feels about that? And she was gobsmacked because obviously it hit home. And so again, we talk about the childless environment. or sorry, we talk about the childless, how childless people get treated, and I think it's a great example of how we get isolated and pushed to the side and, you know, marginalised because people don't, I guess, don't. Probably not their fault, and it wasn't Sandy's fault, but she just didn't realise. And it's not until we talk about this, it's not until we bring it out to the open and say, hello, we're here. We just need a little bit of your time, just a little bit of your understanding. And you know what? It will probably be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it is a two-way street.
Yeah, that's such an interesting anecdote that that happened with your sister-in-law, and is such a strong reason for why I think you and I are so vocal about our story, is that we want to normalize this, and we want to remove the stigma behind being childless. And I think that, you know, with your work with the Full Stop podcast and your clan of brothers and my effort to start to talk about it within my area of employment is all about breaking down those barriers and trying to end the stigma around us who are childless not by choice.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. I couldn't put it better myself.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I think this will be a great discussion for all of my colleagues at the City of Calgary. So thank you very, very much.
It's always a pleasure being with you, Robyn.